Again, we're back to the Matrix. Stevie B, Boston. You know what we're talking about? Knicks lost, Celtics Knicks last night. Kemba, did his thing, showing initially what I had been talking about, that bounce in his step. Tatum did his thing, but essentially just didn't have enough, And what was a close game, you could see a lack of effort by I feel like by Tatum in a lot of the parts of the game, defensively, to the end of the game when you want to, show that intensity, but then also the lack of supporting cast. Jaylen Brown is down. This is what the team's going to look like. Now, there was no Robert Williams, which means you had no size at all, okay? And which is what we're going to get into. Let's start by, analyzing the fact that they were in the game. They had good ball movement, throughout the beginning half of the game. Played decent defense. But when you have, a second-year Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo playing, the way he does. You have Jimmy Butler just being a grinder in a defensive player the way he does. And Kendrick Nunn, who's taking a step up, but they have what the Celtics lack, and that's sort of talented veteran bench players. And all of them aren't even bench players. A lot of these players have been drafted by the Heat. And the Celtics drafted bench and supporting players looked worse than theirs. Period. That was the point of this game. Tatum and Kemba looks great, but when you have Tyler Hero looking that good, like who now what does that say to you? You don't have a Jaylen Brown to equal out three players that they have that can do what they have to do. And I'm not putting Tyler Hero on anybody's, stature, but the man can shoot and he's showing some confidence. That's not something you can say about anybody on your bench in that way aside from Romeo Langford. And the Celtics' depth has continued to deplete year after year from a bench standpoint, veteran-wise, with guys who have the confidence to just get it done. They lost that game on the fact that there was a lack of continuity. Defensively, you got Fournier is going hard. I will give that man that all day, and I believe he will be a factor. Because I think they have a chance in the bubble regardless. Or not in the bubble, excuse me. In the play-in. This year it's the play-in, excuse me. But, god damn it, we all got to be a little bit realistic about the fact that they've underachieved this entire year. And most of that has been on the fact that not only you've only had 2 out of 3 big-time players on the court at one time, but the lack of continuity and the changing of rotations, the lack of everyone knowing their roles. See, the Miami Heat don't have that problem. And there's a few other teams in the Eastern Conference that don't have that problem. Despite what their record is, most of these teams have roles defined with these players. The Nets are out of sorts based on who's going to be asked to do what different nights based on who's out, but yet the talent with these guys having been there and they're veterans off of that bench. And they also have, a stacked team with a bunch of, former All-Stars. So you got 2 or 3 of them at a time any given night. I do believe that Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, Kemba Walker doesn't have any real raw playoff experience, but he has that bounce in his step this year. I believe Tatum, Smart, and Walker, with the lack of Brown this year, will be able to get them at least out of that play-in. But it's pretty much a wrap from there, because then you have to play the highest, seeded team after that, I would assume. Or at least that's the way it should be set up, But, you got to take away from that game what you take away from it. The Celtics are a great team when you have everything working right, and they can compete with anybody. But too many of those guys who can compete with anybody, like the Rob Williams, like the Grant Williams, like the Romeo Langfords. Now you got supposedly Jabari Parker. I haven't seen him be a huge factor recently. I've seen Nesmith step up. You have rookies. Peyton Pritchard and Aaron Nesmith are getting more minutes than guys you drafted 3 years ago. They built the team the wrong way. Or they're at least at a point now where they have to put now veteran-specific talent, or at least set guys' roles and get some size. I refuse to believe that they can that Rob Williams is all they have from a size standpoint. If you're going to be this depleted at this point, you might as well play Taco Fall, because you don't have any size. You don't. I just don't get it. They lose almost every single jump ball at the beginning of the game. And I am sick of seeing 6'8", 6'9", 6'10" guys play the center, and when you have the same size guy, if not smaller, playing the power forward. I mean, essentially, your power forward is Fournier in your starting lineup because of his size, but I just don't understand. I mean, now granted, I don't know what they're doing with Rob Williams. It's not announced that he has an injury. He's just game to game. And maybe the only reason I think they can win the play-in is because you have a healthy Rob, then you got Fournier, then you got, Tatum, then you got Smart, then you got Kemba, then you got guys that I know, especially if defensively you have, what's his name coming off the bench? Aaron Nesmith defensively coming off the bench. I think I've seen something from him recently that allows me to say, okay, he's defensively ready. And he'll knock down the shot. That's fine, but Kemba's got to be running the offense. Someone's got to be a floor general. This team looks like it has a complete lack of continuity. Okay? Obviously, it's because they played with a lineup again the other night. Tristan Thompson at center. Again, like I said, the jump ball. He's not going to win that against Bam Adebayo, even though Bam's not even a 7-footer. It's just not going to happen when you have Tristan Thompson at your center. So you put a Rob Williams in there. If that becomes your guy, fine. I think they have more of a chance with Rob Williams at their center and putting Kemba, Tatum, and run with whoever else you want to mix in between those two. But Marcus Smart needs to come off the bench. He needs to come off the bench, period, come playoff time. They cannot afford to start him because you have to start your greatest lineup. No, you do not. You have 3 guys in there that know each other, and you have Fournier, who you can now insert in the starting lineup as another scorer. You have 3 great scorers. We do not need, although, damn it, with Jaylen Brown out the lineup, maybe you need a defensive presence up there at shooting guard. So I guess I get. But if you're putting Walker, Smart, Tatum, Fournier, and then you have to put Robert Williams. The only way that lineup works is with Robert Williams, because of how hard Fournier plays and how long he plays. At the end of the day, we got to be ready for the worst this season. But look forward to the moves in the offseason. Because come this postseason, it's about winning the play-in. And if they can do that, then at least they can set themselves into a part. Without Brown, Tatum has to set himself, and Tatum and Walker have to set themselves in a stage where they can say, well, we got there. We can get there. We're at least that good, because you can't just lose one player on that level and be that bad. Shout out to the Lakers. Injured freaking AD and stuff and a bunch of guys. But at least there are veterans there. That's the point. And I'm not saying they know how to play together either, but they've been playing like that most of the season. There's nobody off our bench. We can't take 3 guys off our bench that are supposed to start anywhere else in the league. There's a problem there. Stevie B, Matrix out.